In 1944, I found myself entrenched on the Eastern Front, where the brutal winter seemed to conspire with the enemy against us. The war had entered its 5th year, and the optimism of earlier campaigns had long evaporated. Our unit had become hardened veterans, marked by countless battles that etched themselves into our memories with a cruel permanence. The bitter cold of that winter gnawed at us ceaselessly, penetrating even the thickest layers of our uniforms. The trenches we occupied were a labyrinth of frozen mud and shattered earth, where the stench of death mingled with the acrid smoke of spent artillery shells. Every day was a struggle against the elements as much as against the enemy. Our adversary, the Soviet Red Army, seemed endless in its manpower and relentless in its determination. They advanced with a ferocity that matched the frigid landscape, their numbers overwhelming our defenses time and again. We fought tooth and nail, clinging to every inch of ground as if our lives depended on it, because they did. The year 1944 began with a sense of grim resignation. We had witnessed the gradual erosion of our once proud Wehrmacht, battered by years of attrition and the ever-increasing demands of a war waged on multiple fronts. Supplies were scarce, replacements were few, and morale fluctuated with each setback and fleeting victory. One morning stands out vividly in my memory, a dawn obscured by thick fog that blanketed the battlefield like a shroud. The silence was eerie, broken only by occasional distant gunfire that echoed through the mist. We strained to see through the veil of gray, knowing that our unseen adversaries lurked just beyond our reach. As the fog lifted, revealing the grim reality of our surroundings, we prepared for yet another day of relentless combat. The landscape was a tableau of destruction craters filled with snow and debris, shattered trees stripped bare by artillery fire, and the occasional silhouette of a wrecked tank or abandoned artillery piece. Amidst the chaos and carnage, there were moments of camaraderie and humanity that sustained us. We shared what little we had, traded stories of home and loved ones left behind, and found solace in the fleeting laughter that echoed through our beleaguered ranks. These moments were brief respites from the unrelenting brutality of war. But as 1944 wore on, the situation grew increasingly dire. The Eastern Front became a battleground where ideals of duty and sacrifice clashed with the harsh realities of an unwinnable war. We fought not just for victory, but for survival against overwhelming odds and a relentless enemy determined to see us defeated. By the end of that fateful year, it was clear to many of us that the tide had turned decisively against Germany. The once mighty Wehrmacht, which had swept triumphantly across Europe just a few years earlier, now found itself on the defensive, struggling to hold back the inexorable tide of Soviet forces. For me and my comrades, 1944 was a year of reckoning, a time when the dreams of glory and conquest gave way to the stark realities of loss and devastation. We had fought bravely, but at great cost. The war had exacted a toll on our bodies and minds, leaving scars that would endure long after the last shots were fired. As I look back now, decades removed from those harrowing days on the Eastern Front, I remember not just the horrors of war, but also the resilience and camaraderie that defined us as soldiers. We were young men thrust into a maelstrom of violence and chaos, where our actions were measured not by victories won, but by the courage and sacrifice we displayed in the face of overwhelming adversity.